Good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, July 1st. And our first item is the approval of the agenda, which will include the Board of Equalization minutes from June 17th.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve the agenda with that.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we have some employee recognitions this morning. Lots of people with guns here. Good morning. First off, Craig Reno. Come on up, Craig. Okay, all right. So Craig has 25 years of dedicated service to Clay County. So Gary, do you want to talk?
Yep. I spoke with Craig yesterday, and he wanted me to let everybody know that he's very appreciative and thankful that he was able to reach this milestone. So, thank you.
Great. All right, next we have Sean Mork. Sean? Congratulations on 15 years of dedicated service to Clay County.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. Sheriff?
Yep.
Well, Sean's been with us now 15 years. This is to the point now in my career where I remember these guys when they started and watch them through the training program and watch them progress throughout their career. And I could probably go on about for 30 to 45 minutes of stories on both Sean and Eli. But the problem is they could go on for about the same amount of time stories for me. So I won't. So I'll just highlight your careers. Sean started with us. He came from Lake Park as the chief in Lake Park. He's been an excellent employee for us. He moved into investigations after a few years of working patrol. And then he ended up taking over the sergeant's role in investigations. And this was the first time we've ever had a sergeant in investigations. So he had to kind of develop that sergeant position, which he has done very well. In another month now, Sean's going to head back and work patrol and have Eli come in and take over sergeant of investigation. So Eli is going to have some big shoes to fill there. So Sean, thank you for your 15 years of service. We're looking forward to another 30.
All right. All right, next we have Eli. Eli, congratulations on 15 years of service. Yeah. Sheriff?
I was in Eli's wedding, so I could really tell stories here, but I won't. Eli's been with us for 15 years. He came to us from Glendon PD. Of course, everybody that starts in Glendon does excellent for the sheriff's office, and I speak from experience on that because I started in Glendon as well. But he is one of our sergeants in the patrol division, and he also has a lot of other secondary assignments as far as use of force instructor, a firearms instructor. He was a former PTO, which is a police training officer, where he trains our new hires that comes into the department. We're very happy to have Eli here. We're looking forward to what he is going to bring to that sergeant's role in investigations. And again, thank you for your 15 years, and we're looking forward to another 40.
Thank you, Sheriff. And we have Susan Olson, Public Health. It looks like maybe they got the date wrong or something. Anyway, Susan has had 35 years with Clay County, so congratulations to Susan for her time at Public Health. All right, next we have citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens in the audience to be heard on items not on the agenda?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Online, okay. All right, next we have the approval of the bills and vouchers.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the bills and vouchers.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, approval of minutes from June 17th.
I move for approval of the minutes of June 17th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Krabenoff. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Kathy, were you here for the employee? Okay. Okay. All right, very good. 8:35, we have a request of low bid for the joint highway facility replacement project. Good morning, Joe and Justin.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right. So, as you recall, last week we opened publicly opened the bids and attached. We have the abstract with all the bidders. Low bid came in at $438,867, and that is by Tecta America Dakotas. I did a follow up with them and just to double check, and everything looks good with them. We also reached out to City of Moorhead and MnDOT. Both of them have approved this in their in their budgets, and we're looking to award the bid to Tecta America Dakotas this morning.
All right. Any questions?
And this would be funded through Fund 19, which has the funds to do this. And the county would, the county's share would be $197,490.35.
Make a motion to approve the low bid from Tecna America Dakotas in the amount of $438,867 for the joint highway facility roof replacement project.
We have a motion by Commissioner Krabbenhoft and second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried, okay.
Thank you, Board.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if I
yes.
could just quickly, just thank Joe. Here's an example. We have a good partnership, a great partnership with MnDOT City Moorhead. This is something where Joe ended up taking on this project rather than the state taking the lead, which ended up saving significant amount of dollars for the county, the state, and the partnership with Moorhead. So just wanted to thank Joe for making that extra effort.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have a request approval to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Minnesota State University Moorhead for their violence and prevention project. Good morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Thanks for having me this morning. This is the third attempt at this grant opportunity with the with MSUM. We tried it for 3 different years. We have not been successful in obtaining this grant. MSUM is the holder of the grant, and if we do receive this grant, they will be the folks that end up hiring somebody for the position and such as that. What our role in this is to be part of their coordinated community response team and to assist with policies and training and things of that nature to try and deter violent crimes that occur on MSUM campuses, as well as our science center, which is located out by the state park. This was reviewed by the county attorney's office 3 years ago. It has not changed, but so this one has not been reviewed as of lately, but Director Nelson indicated that they were somewhat under the gun trying to get this in by July 3rd, and if given the approval, I will sign it and get it over to Director Nelson right away this morning.
All right, any questions? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
This is Ryan Nelson you're working with on this.
Correct, yep.
And will our local officers get training as a result of this, or?
If we do need training, yes, but it's more or less somebody to be part of the team, to be able to provide some training to others for, how to respond to these types of calls for service for, like, for example, MSUM staff and things of that nature.
Okay, very good.
And Sheriff, I'm assuming you will delegate somebody and then to be on that?
That is correct. It'd be somebody from our investigations unit.
Okay, all right.
That being said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sheriff's office to enter into the MOU with Minnesota State University Moorhead Violence Prevention Project.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Everger and second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Sheriff. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a request approval to fill open juvenile detention worker position in secure detention.
Morning, Mr. Chair,
Good
Commissioners.
morning, James.
I'm here today to request permission to refill a line 13, a juvenile worker position in our secure unit. The position's part of our 2025 budget and part of our state approved licensing, staffing plan. I did, if you guys want a salary breakdown between the new and old, I got that. But it's going to be minimum. The person that's leaving is at a step 2. We'll more likely be bringing in at a step 1. I figured we'd have savings of about $3,320 basically of just healthcare cost of the lapse of a month or 2 months actually.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to fill the open position in the secure unit.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Everger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. James, before you leave, how are things going in the new unit over at the?
It's going great. Yeah, it's giving some young ladies a nice chance to, be safe, and that's the biggest thing, be safe, and then actually have somewhere that they can feel comfortable. So
Okay. And what's the population over there?
we have 4 there right now.
And you can go up to 8?
We can go up to 12, but 8 is where sweet spot would be, was where would be the most effective. But yeah, starting it out, we imagine that it'll be filling up here in the next month, primarily because people couldn't be sentenced to the program or until the program was licensed and existed. So
Okay.
it'll fill there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good. I'm glad it's going well.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. All right, next we have a request approval to replace a registered nurse position in public health. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Yes, I'm here to request a position, registered nurse position in our department. This will be vacated the middle of this month. And so just requesting to replace that position. I didn't get a wage calculator, but the person in this position is at the top end of the scale, so there's at least a $23,000 difference of hiring someone on step 3, if that's a potential where we can. I know it's been difficult to recruit RNs. It's always been a challenge, so we'll see what we can get.
All right.
All the needs there. I'll make a motion to approve to advertise and hire the full-time RN for public health.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kravinoff and second by Commissioner Everett, and I'm assuming you want backfill.
Yes, please.
Will that
Thank you.
include backfill in your motion?
Yes.
And your second? All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll move over.
So just one real quick thing. Any word on if pizzas are being delivered to the detox center yet?
I did talk with Troy last week. He hasn't heard yet if your conversations with those pizza places are.
All right, well, we'll keep the call out then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
All right, next we have the County Dental Innovations Program update.
Yes, and I'd like to introduce Jane Neubauer. She is our coordinator for Partnership for Health in this project. She's been a part of our county collaborative for lots of years. And so, but this is about this dental innovation program, so I'll let Jane talk about that.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. So yes, I'm Jane Neubauer, and I've worked with Partnership for Health on the Dental Innovations Project since 2020. Listen to me date myself, would you? Anyway, so our project goals with that program are to increase access to dental care for people who are on Minnesota Healthcare Program insurances. There's a serious lack of access to care for folks that either don't have any insurance at all or are part of our state insurance programs. And then we've also worked hard on education in our classrooms here throughout Clay County, as well as promoting the resources that we do have. So just a quick overview of kind of what we've been working on for the last 5 years. We have successfully expanded Apple Tree Dental's clinic from their Holly location. They just, on July 1st, will be opening a new location in Detroit Lakes. That is a rental building. At this time, they will be there hopefully 3 days per week and grow that expansion as they're able to secure more staff to do that. We have been really successful with mobile outreach clinics here in Clay County. The Moorhead Public School District works with Family Health Care, and they provide dental care to kids at the school throughout the school year, at least once a month. We were able to grow that to the DGF public schools. They started out in Dilworth, and they've expanded to Glendon and Felton schools as well in the past 2 years, so that's pretty exciting. Ewell and Hitterdal, we were able to get mobile clinics there through Children's Dental Services. And then Holly, the Holly School actually also has the Minnesota School Sealant Program, which was added just last year. And as far as Barnesville schools go, we did attempt to do a mobile outreach there in Barnesville, and they just felt there wasn't enough need. And so we did withdraw from there for that purpose. But we had over 5,200 kids that were educated last year in the schools where we went out. We organized that with dental hygiene providers throughout the region and gave them all new toothbrushes, talked to them about the importance of oral health care and just taking care of those teeth from the time they're little. And then the other thing that we are currently working on actively is the workforce issue. So if you know anybody who's looking for an exciting career that pays pretty well and has a lot of job opportunities, we would encourage you to have them look at those dental fields. Another good part of the healthcare fields that there's just a really serious lack of healthcare providers in the oral healthcare field here in our region. So those are kind of some of the things we've been up to. I think Kathy had sent the outline to you in your packet. If you look on the back page, you can just see kind of how the expansion has progressed. The map on the bottom there is where we started in 2020, and the map on the top is where we're at as of now in 2025. So I think it's a pretty good visual of what we've been up to and growing that access to healthcare for our kids and families. So any questions for me?
Any questions? All right.
No? Okay, perfect. Thanks. Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, we are a little bit ahead of schedule for the bid openings.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mark,
is prepared.
is your presentation 15 minutes? Okay, or less? Or less? All right, let's just move on then to item 10 on the agenda.
All right, let me switch decks.
10.
10.
9 is a public hearing, we can't change the
Yeah.
time of that. But my budget presentation, we can do whenever you would like me to do. Good morning, I'm delighted to be here. Today is my anniversary. 28 years ago today, I walked through the doors of Clay County.
All right.
All excited to change the world, and by gosh, we've done that. Yeah, I kept thinking about that day when I showed up here. We had a single paper map of the county. There wasn't a thing digital in those days. But so things have changed a lot. My budget was $150,000 a year then. This year, I'm asking for $835,928. So it's gone up a bit. But instead of just me, now we have a staff of 5. And on the geographic information system side, we're doing some tremendous things, and those things that they do, they can't, there's other departments that can't do what they do without us. And on the communication side, we're working hard to make sure that information is getting to the right people. So when it comes to budgets, as a department head, we take great responsibility in the opportunity we have to be stewards of public dollars. So we spend really a lot of time to make sure where we're spending our money is a good place, and we go through that constantly as a job. One of the hardest things we have, especially for some of us like us that work with software and computer stuff, is we're estimating what things are going to be costing us up to 18 months from now. So sometimes we have to guess, and we try over time to do better with that guessing. But and then things come up, we deal with. Anyway, my budget is compared to the last year's 2025. There's only a few minor changes. We changed increased some training and some travel money just because I have more staff now. I have, instead of 3 full-time staff, we have 5 full-time staff. And the biggest change is going to be in software. We're just trying to keep up with what we're actually expending on our software. Software continues to grow, and how we use it is becoming more widespread. Our department is like, you'll hear later today from Technology Services, is that we're similar in that we provide software that supports all departments. Things like the geographic information systems, the websites, the agenda management solutions, all those things. So it's not department-specific software, it's stuff that's spread out across a lot of different users. We actually, this year, will be moving some things that I used to pay for that Rory is going to take over because of how we're just trying to keep things structured a little better. But so he'll have some stuff that I used to have, but that tries to keep my growth down a little bit. So you should have a page that looks similar to this. I printed mine bigger because it's got the bigger text. I can read it. But it's basically the same as we did last year. For me personally, I keep a great big detailed spreadsheet of every single line item that we're spending, and then I compare that with the stuff that's in our accounting system and make sure that where our spending is accurate, and then where we're forecasting is on task. One of the things that has happened for us in the last few years, as I mentioned before, we're talking about software. Software now used to be something we would just buy it, and now we don't buy software anymore. Now we subscribe to it, or we have licenses to use it. So it's a subscription-based system, or it's software as a service, or a lot of different ways of how that works. But how we pay for that is a little different in that we pay annual fees. Later this year, I'll be coming before you with a new contract with our GIS software from that firm that will be for 3 years, what we're paying for that, and that's an enterprise-wide license for all of our departments to use. But one of the things that the way software works is, and they've made some changes in accounting, is how they account for some of that. So one of the things I get kind of caught up with a few times is they'll move some of the expenditures we have, like say I buy a piece of software in December that's good for the next year, they'll actually apply some of that expense to the following year because that's how it works. So sometimes it makes my budget look a little off in some of those past years, but that's why. But over time, it should even out as that process is in place. But we try to have a pretty good idea of what we're spending and what we need to do with it. A couple things
Mark, you mentioned the software that you're going to be coming back to us later this year on.
Mm-hmm.
Is what you're going to come back later, are you anticipating that, and is that included in your 130?
Yes, exactly. We've already talked to them what the pricing should be. We got a pro forma contract, but, so we should be spot on. That particular software was about a 9% increase. So, but then it's set for 3 years, which is nice, because a lot of the stuff we have it changes every year, and we don't always know what that's gonna be. We have a couple of things that we had talked about maybe buying next year that we did not include because we were trying to not have any major new purchases, trying to keep our budgets as low as possible. One of those is chatbot, AI chatbots are all the rage right now. We've been asked to look at that. We have looked at it. We think it might be useful, but we did not include funding in 2026 for that. And the other one we didn't include funding for is something called Next Request, which is a software solution that makes it easier for us to provide data for public information requests when people are asking for data from the county. It would make that process simpler, but it was quite a bit of money, so we said, no, we're not gonna do that because we wanted to keep our budget as flat as we possibly could. So I'm coming to you with, I think it's a little under 6% increase, and most of that is staff increases too.
And just a point of clarification again, Steve, these numbers this year do not include any cost of living adjustments or health insurance premium increases. Is that
Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Chair. You are correct. Being that we're in between contracts on both of those, we do not have anything applied in those two areas.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I just gonna throw that reminder out a few times here as we're going through this, because these numbers are gonna be different than
Right.
what's.
Yeah, so the increases in staff you'll see on our budgets today are basically steps, is what you're saying.
That's correct, yeah. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Any questions? I didn't mean to, I just wanted to make sure that
No.
our board was aware of it.
That's good, yeah.
All right. Well, Mark, you do a great job in GS. We hear about it all the time when we go to, I've said it before, when we go to AMC, to our conferences, everybody there knows Mark Sloan.
That,
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, your 28 years of service has brought you distinction.
I'm honored.
Okay. All right. So we have just about 8 minutes. Matt, do you want to go through your budget? Is that planning and zoning?
Early bird gets the worm.
Yeah.
Morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So before you is the proposed 2026 planning and zoning budget. Looking at a slight decrease, 1.56% from last year. Sorry, I'm sad I couldn't deliver that news to our past Commissioner Gross. I don't think I've ever.
I know.
You get the badge today.
So, well, I just really want to
Frank would
thank.
have said that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's true. Really not a whole lot of changes. I think just some things to note with the revenues coming in from we serve as a pass-through to the SWCD for the AIS funding, and that's been halved. That's noted in there. Continuing to get the riparian aid funding, and that is going with the approximately $53,771 going over to the Buffalo Red Watershed District. Other than that, just kind of looking at throughout the year, I look at our different line items and look at where things could be tweaked in the coming year. And so, just looking at some changes with just reallocating funds to different categories and not trying to add anything new. Looking where areas in the past where we haven't maybe spent as much, or it just makes more sense to put to move the funding around, mainly related to like travel expenses and gas and oil. Also, if you look at the top two, I should have gone through this first, but we always tend to overshoot our estimated revenues. I think this year is going to be the same. There's been probably looking at, and thanks to Rita for pulling this up, we're well ahead of permits, typically where we would be at this time of year for like the past 3 or 4 years now. And including in that, we have had 13 new housing start permits in the county. So that's been really good to see if that trend keeps going. We might end up having a year where we have more new housing starts than we've had in the past few years. So that's really encouraging. Also, just looking at in 2026, now that our development ordinance is updated, looking at some potential new fee schedule for violations and some potential for increased revenues there as well. I just really want to thank the board and administration and Mr. Melton and our staff for all the support that we've had since really 2021 with some of the big projects that we've done with the comprehensive plan and the land development ordinance update. Those were really big projects, and really grateful for the support in getting those done. Any questions for me at all?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Matt, for the work that you and your department do. You know, I've said this before. There was a time that I was receiving a lot of complaints that kind of revolved around the spirit of land management within the county and property component. And so you really do a really great job of communicating directly with landowners about expectations and or violations or path to move forward. So thanks for that flexibility. I really do appreciate that. In looking at the budget, just in regards to state grants, I know that there's certainly a lot of talk at the Capitol about reductions to those state grants, and there were some proposed, and I think there are some smaller tweaks there. I know you communicate with the SWCD on that, but as I kind of look through your budget, one item that we've talked a lot about is that kind of miscellaneous county-owned property component, and so a lot of it ends up being weed management or mowing and coordinating with the highway and picking up shingles sometimes. I'm curious about if there was any appetite with the SWCD to maybe take some of that riparian aid and utilize that $5,000 to $6,000 and take it out of that state grant to apply it to what the county is, because a lot of those properties are in those they were water buyouts. They're kind of along that vein, and I think that might be an option. I don't want to say to seek additional savings in that, but I'm not on the SWCD board anymore, but I'm not sure exactly where all of those specific pieces are. But if there was a way to carve out $6,000, I think that would be an appropriate shift to the payment. So just food for thought.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair and Commissioner Mojo, I think with the riparian aid funding as well, some of that being earmarked or allocated by this board for property management, I think that would be a totally appropriate use of that.
And I think in a tricky year, I think that it's an appropriate shift. I also think that as we prove our case to the Capitol about how we're working cross-jurisdictionally and really kind of mitigating the land that they won't let us get rid of, I think that makes sense too.
So can I ask, are you suggesting that the Soil and Water would take over that cleanup?
I don't know if I'm suggesting that so much as taking $6,000 out of that pass-through riparian aid number and adding that to pay for what we're utilizing on line 6820 for the county-owned property. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I explaining that correctly?
So you're using 6,000 of the 160,000? So it doesn't change the bottom number any, though?
It would change what is coming out of the levy, because that's grant money. So that 6,000 at the bottom comes out of levy dollars.
Correct.
Well, the 439,000 is levy dollars, right? Isn't that the net?
Yep, correct.
Pretty much that's all grants other than the permits that are given. We
Yeah,
took
so-
6,000 out of the riparian aid.
221.
But don't we normally take all of our revenues and subtract our expenditures and?
Those are pass-through grants, so they go to SWCD.
So Only
I
only $53,771 is passed through right now. That goes to the watershed district. The rest of that it stays with the county.
But you are sending that 160,000 from the 5220 state grant to the SWCD.
That has been staying with the county at this time.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry. I thought
Yeah,
that,
that's why.
I thought that it was explained that that was going to the
I
SWCD.
think a portion of it might be.
Okay,
Yep.
So they're,
never mind.
yeah, so that, either way you look at it, I think the levy is still covering the 6,000.
But Mr. Chair, and to Commissioner Moschel's point, I think it would be an appropriate use of that grant funding because for 99% of those properties that require maintenance or are used as kind of dumping grounds for our along riparian areas.
I agree with that. So in essence, what we're saying is the $6,000 would come off of here, but the amount that we would forward in revenues of the grant would go from 53 to 59.
Yep.
So that still is a net wash on the budget. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. So, but it still makes sense to, if they're willing to do that, then it just takes that hassle away from you to be dealing with it. I think that's an important part. Yes, Paul.
So remind me, what were the three parts how you divvied up that aid? The soil and water.
Yep.
And then there were two other pieces, were there not?
There was the soil and water, there was other property maintenance. I think the soil and water is for like enhancements like pollinator, native planting, things like that.
Yep.
Then there's the maintenance bucket and then the litigation, potential litigation and enforcement. Yep.
Trying to be clear. So in doing this, and I agree with it, do we need to be asking soil and water?
I think that's what Commissioner Moschel was suggesting, right? That we'd be asking them to take over, that, the cleaning up of that type of stuff, but yet we would transfer additional grant dollars to them to cover their cost. Right? Isn't that?
Yeah, I think however we coordinate, I think it needs to be a dialogue between SWCD, highway, and
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
planning, and however that works. I just want to not utilize levy dollars for that line item specifically, just rationalize it with the grant.
And that's something I'm certainly happy to reach out to the SWCD and Highway Department and coordinate and see if that's something they're willing to take on.
Yeah.
And Paul, you're
I just want the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's good.
Any other questions?
Kudos on the budget.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Yes. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, now we do have we have two different bid openings. And the first one is SAP 014-602-031.
Good morning.
Morning, Justin.
So the first project that I have is the SAP 14-602-031. If you remember, this is the urban reconstruct through the city of Comstock. So we did receive quite a bit of interest on this project, and I did bring the design engineer, Chris Carlson, who helped us with this project, to the meeting as well. We did receive 3 complete bids. So the first bid would be Border States Paving Incorporated. Their bid was $5,603,108.87. $5,603,108.87. The second bid we received was from Northern Improvement Company. Their bid was $4,437,000. $267.85. $4,437,267.85. And then the final bid we received was from Celine Brothers Incorporated. Their bid was $4,434,546.77. $4,434,546.77. The engineer's estimate is on the sheets that I gave you. I didn't bring that sheet with me, so I don't have that number.
The engineer's estimate that you have is $4,795,605.00.
So yeah, I mean, I do feel really good about that number, and it coming in, you know, having a July 1st bid opening is not ideal, and seeing something come in under engineer's estimate is pretty incredible.
So Justin, Commissioner Mojo and I, along with Administrator Larson, were able to attend a meeting that was held in Comstock along with you and members, Chris Bockyard from the Diversion Authority, and we heard a lot of concerns regarding not only the shape that the road was in, but timelines. Do you want to just can you talk a little bit about the timelines? I don't know if you want to.
Yep, so we did kind of leave it open-ended. So for construction for this calendar year in 2025, from Highway 75 to the railroad tracks has to be completed by September 15th. And that date was worked out with the elevator, so it doesn't interrupt their corn harvest mainly. And then east of the tracks, there is an option if construction goes really well that they can open it, but then it has to be completed this year as well. So most likely this will be a phased 2-year project with from Highway 75 to the tracks being this year, and then from the tracks out to Wolverton Creek next year.
And so in terms of if it were to be a split project, the portion that's, will there be a payment submittal based on portions of work completed versus not completed?
Absolutely. So there'll be, I mean, I would guess a few $1 million at the minimum this year. I know there is a lot of money in pipe east of the tracks, but if I were to, I mean, just spitballing, you could say $2.5 million. So
Would
we
be
would,
in 2025 and then
correct.
the balance in 2026?
Yep. And it's not uncommon for 2-year projects either. We don't do a lot of them, but a lot of municipalities will do 2-year contracts.
And I asked that question, you know, probably more on behalf of the Diversion Authority from the financial standpoint there, what they should be anticipating for 2025 budget versus 2026 budget.
Yep.
So I don't know if maybe you will be in contact with Chris or Jason on that.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as we're done here, my intent would be to put together an abstract and send it to him with Steve copied on it and highway tracking copied on it as well.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. You know, I just want to say that, one, really exciting to see bids come in so favorably. I know there was some hesitation from folks on the diversion board just in regards to costs and lack of Minnesota legislative earmarks. You know, particularly the flexibility that the residents out there have shown just in being patient to getting this done speaks to what Commissioner Campbell talked about that meeting. We really had a long dialogue with a full room of folks. And two, you know, I think we talk about local economy and not wanting to disrupt local economies too much. There's an enormous grain elevator there that has been really flexible about the project, that literally came to the table and said, whatever we need to do to make it work to get this done, we're willing to work with our growers. They're sending growers to Wolverton right now just to avoid further damage on that road. And if you've ever driven a triaxle, that's a substantial delay and reroute for those folks too. So I'm really excited about the possibility about this going through. I know the Diversion Authority had this full amount of, I think, upwards of $5 million in their budget. I know there was some question on that, but certainly phasing this through will really help the people in the Comstock area. So thank you. And also really exciting to see a Clay County business get this.
Absolutely.
And I also want to just reiterate, not only was it frustrating on the part of all the residents there, the condition of that road. But the importance of the timing of this needing to be done to avoid the other projects that also need to be done. The last thing that we want to add on to all of our producers down there is maybe a 10 or 15 mile detours when they're trying to do their work in the fall.
Absolutely.
So this is really important, and I echo Commissioner Mojo's comments regarding the grain elevator there. They were really concerned in this, with this project, and they really spoke up, and I think they really negotiated a good timeline that we just talked about. So, yeah, I think overall this is a really good deal. So. Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. With that, then I would make a motion to approve the low bidder of Celine Brothers for the project, contingent on no errors in the bids.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Mojo and seconded by Commissioner Bear for Celine Brothers bid in the amount of $4,434,546.77. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, thank you. Next, we have the bid opening for CP 014-300-002.
Yes, so this is the pavement marking contract that, if you remember correctly, through the 2025 budget cycle, I did take the money that was previously allocated for the turnback in the city of Moorhead and then just turned it into a seal coating and striping program. This being the first year, we didn't really know what to expect with prices, and there is district-wide HSIP striping that's going on this year as well. So this covers every county road in the county will be striped this year, including railroad crossing signs, crosswalks. So it's a huge contract, both sides of it. My engineer's estimate, I felt extremely high just because I didn't know what to expect. So my engineer's estimate was $292,212.46. And we did receive 6 bids on this one. So the first bid is $164,435.42, and that's North Star Safety.
North Star,
Can you,
say the name.
North Star Safety.
And the amount again?
Yep, $164,435.42. $164,435.42. The next bid is Camco Incorporated. Their bid is $148,440.01. $148,440.01. Next bid is Dakota Fence / 3D Specialties. Their bid is $142,037.88. $142,037.88. Next bid is Vogel Traffic Services Incorporated. Their bid is $126,852.55. $126,852.55. And then the final bid is from Sir Lines-A-Lot LLC. Their bid is $109,606.19. $109,606.19.
And Justin, so was this primarily striping or what?
Just striping on this one.
And when you had them bid, was it for a certain amount of miles of striping?
It's all based on lineal feet of stripe.
Okay.
So there's
you gave them this is how many feet we want striped this year, and
So we actually have a plan put together, just like a normal project.
Okay.
And then
So
a proposal that they bid on.
so they're all bidding on the same number of feet of.
Correct. So one major thing here, when we put together engineers' estimates, we base them on average bid prices. Average bid prices are typically on an SAP job or a state project, which would have prevailing wage. one of the big reasons in me deciding to, or trying to get this through county funding too, is if we use county funding, we don't have to use all of the prevailing wage and Davis-Bacon wages that we would normally use. So I think that's part of the reason that we're seeing lower numbers as well.
And when you first started, I thought you said there were 6 bids.
1, 2, 3.
And I've only got 5
Sorry,
written down.
5.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
You sure there's not one cheaper than the 100?
No.
No. They were good, I was just, it kept coming down, I thought maybe there was a 6th one would even be lower yet, but.
No, when we first opened bids electronically, it says how many have submitted, so I didn't even count them. I just assumed that number was correct, but it does say 5 in the top right corner.
Thank you, okay, yes.
Yeah, how many miles are we striping with this?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to look, but it's, so through District 4, so we have a county road safety plan that state aid helps us put together, and anyone that has edge risk, highway safety improvement funds cover that. So that was bid out district-wide with Becker County taking the lead. And then this covers every single county road that's not on there, both center and edge line.
So all of Clay County,
Every single thing.
everything that's tarred will be striped.
Yep. Well, no, everything that's paved will be
Paved.
striped. Yep.
Paved.
Right, yes, Commissioner Avier.
Are you familiar with Sirline a lot?
Yep, so they do quite a bit of, we've never directly had them, a contract with them, but on a lot of our paving projects, they're a subcontractor to a lot of the big paving contractors. So they've striped a lot of roads in the county.
Okay. You're satisfied?
Yep, yeah, no, they do excellent work. They're probably one of the biggest striping outfits in Minnesota now.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
No more questions.
Yes, Commissioner Bear.
How often do you think this will have to be done in the county?
So that is something we're working through. We're gonna see how long latex paint lasts, but we're thinking at least every 2, if not every 4, but we're gonna quadrant off, either go half the county and half the county in future years, or by quadrants based on what we're seeing for longevity. And that will go into also, when I do my budget presentation next week, I'll bring up the seal coating thing again. We'll be kind of coordinating our pavement marking with our seal coating in the future and taking certain sections of the county.
All right. Any further discussion?
So with that, I will make a motion to accept Sirline A-Lot LLC for $109,606.19.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, Justin?
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. More good bids today. Yeah, definitely. All right. All right, next we have a public hearing to consider amendments to the Clay County Code Chapter 6-1 Subsurface Sewage Treatment Systems. All right, so start off with a motion to open the public hearing.
Offer a motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Great, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, who's going to start this?
I'll start.
This? Right.
So remember a few weeks ago I was here, we changed how we host the code on our website. That new tool has allowed us the opportunity to make it a little easier to make some code changes, which is why we're here today. Also, through that process, we went with all the appropriate staff members and went through the entire code. And out of that, we had some things we did before we said we didn't need, but this time we're coming forward with some things that they came across. They said, you know, we'd like to change this. So that's what we're here to present today. I've got Kent and Olivia from our environmental services. They're the folks that actually do this work, and they'll be able to answer any questions about the changes we're proposing today. Kent, you want to explain?
Good morning. Yes, as you can see, we had 2 lines in the code that, as Mark mentioned, because we were doing what we were doing while we were here, we thought, well, this is a good moment to address it. And so as you can see, there's a couple of statements that we wanted to remove. The first one basically weren't sure why we would be dealing with it or making a minimum one pump per year on holding tanks. Didn't seem like some necessary wordage that we needed in there. And then the second is a requirement on the pumpings for the information to be regularly tabulated and sent to us. And as Olivia and I talked about it, it's just something that isn't happening, and we're not so sure that it needs to, and if we would have the capacity to keep up with that data anyway if it was coming in, and what we would do with it. So that was our thinking on those two. Unless you have anything to add to that, Olivia.
Not really, other than, like we don't need like a schedule to be approved through us for people pumping. That would just be between a homeowner and a pumper. We don't need that information to come through us because it's so variable how often people would be pumping their tanks.
Yes, Commissioner Kravinoff.
When you're doing an inspection though, revisiting a site, they have to pump, I'm just saying for renewal, they need to pump it for the inspection, correct?
Yes, currently we have, in our state codes for compliance inspections, the state has taken the stance of if the tanks have not been pumped out during an inspection, then a full compliance inspection hasn't been done. So to answer your question, yes, that is part of the inspection, but I would add to that it's not something that we require for the tank to be pumped prior to us getting to the site to look at that tank, because the scheduling of that between the homeowner and a pumper and our schedule would just be impossible. So what we have asked is that the pumpers that are contacted to pump those tanks out will give the tank inspection and then provide that information to us and the homeowner.
Oh, it's as a condition to the compliance?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, makes sense. And for my background, I think what you're striking out makes total sense.
All right, any other comments regarding the changes? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, having reviewed this, it's pretty evident that this is extraneous and it's a good deletion, so I'll move to adopt ordinance 2025-06.
We have to close the hearing first.
I'm sorry.
Rob?
So with that, I'll move to close the public hearing. Or we haven't asked yet, have we?
Well, I think we need to ask if there's any citizens. Anybody else wish to speak regarding this potential change? Any other comments? All right.
I move that we move back, or move out of public hearing.
Right.
Okay.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger and a second by Commissioner Kravinoff to close the, or to open up the public hearing, or close the public hearing and go back into regular sessions. All right. All right, so any further discussion on that motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Now I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-06.
A second.
We have a motion and a second on adopting ordinance 2025-06. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just made a suggestion that last time when you were here, that the county the chair of the board was involved in it. We're just double checking.
Yes.
Yes, we checked with him a few weeks back.
Great, thank you.
Before we set a public hearing date and all that.
Thank you.
That was done, yes. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, yeah, that's a good correction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep them coming, Mark.
Will do. Okay, so we just submitted that approval of that ordinance 2025-06. you should get a email from Unicode, and you'll hit approve, and then it will go to Steve, and he'll approve it, and it will automatically update the code online. Meanwhile, Sarah has an actual paper copy that you'll have to sign with ink, because we need that to have the copy.
I think I already got something, according to my watch.
There you are.
I got
So,
something that says approval needed, so that's pretty quick.
thanks.
We're going to take 5 minutes. All right, we are now back in session. Our next item is our 8:40 item, and we're right on schedule, so we have a presentation by BirthrightFM. And we have Elizabeth and Nicole here with us. Good morning. Which one of you would like to start?
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Nicole Sanders. I am the new Executive Director / Volunteer Coordinator with Birthright of Fargo Moorhead. I just took over this position in November of '24. Let me tell you a little bit about Birthright. We've been in the region over 50 years. Our philosophy is the right for every woman is to give birth and the right for every child to be born. Birthright helps any girl or woman, regardless age, sex, creed, marital status, or economic, who feel distressed by a pregnancy. Birthright is a 501c3 nonprofit, which is completely funded by donations. We are located in the Family Service Center. The reason why I'm speaking to you today is because Birthright of Fargo Moorhead is seeking financial assistance of $5,000 to help us keep our door open, which we help the community in our services. Your financial assistance would help us purchase diapers, wipes, formula, hygiene products for the infants and toddlers, clothing for children, and other supplies that may be needed. Birthright helps children from birth to age 5, like with diapers and wipes and formula. They come in and can pick it up monthly. Birthright even provides layettes that we give to the parents that are expecting a baby, and in the layettes are like diapers, wipes, some clothing, some blankets, some bottles, stuff to kind of keep them going. As you can see on the sheets that I provided you, our numbers have increased since 2022 due to the increase of immigrants that are currently living in the area. Birthright, our additional funding would help us keep our families coming in every day for their needs. So on behalf of Birthright, we would like to say thank you for your time and your consideration. I did send over some sheets from 22, 23, and 24. On those, you will see our ethnical groups that we do serve, or that have been coming in, and also our other agencies that have been referred to Birthright. We've increased tremendously, like 65% from 22 to 24. And also, I did give you a sheet on a list of our expenses that we have on a monthly basis. That might help a little bit on kind of what we have to purchase, what the prices are of things that we do purchase. And we also have an accountant every month. We have to pay them. They help us do our monthly sheets, our taxes a year. We have our rent, we have our internet and stuff like that. And then we also have, like if our volunteers come in and they buy something for Birthright, we reimburse them back because we feel, unless it's donated and they say, hey, it's a donation, don't worry about it. Otherwise, we do reimburse them for their spending amount that they have. I forgot to give you this, but as of right now this year, June 6th, we've already served 440 people. I forgot to give you that sheet. I have it in front of me here. You have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that is it. So it's increased, a lot since we went through, I went all the way back to 2022, and the immigrants have been just coming in tremendously. We have, I bet you, And then our new clients, we're only open 2 days a week. So we're only open Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we average about 6 to 8 new clients a week. And that's usually immigrants coming in.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, Liz Buer, Family Health Supervisor at Public Health. So I'm just here to share with you that we are one of those referring partners to Birthright because of the families that we serve in the community. We've been referring to Birthright for a long time. I remember when I first started as a home visiting nurse and was referring families to Birthright, and just want to say how important it is for families when they reach a point of not knowing where to turn for formula, for diapers, for additional supports when their budgets are very, very tight to start with. So Birthright has been our go-to as a very important resource in the community for families. I would say for family health, we refer anywhere from 3 to 5 families a week to Birthright. In addition, our WIC office also refers families frequently to Birthright. It could be anywhere to about the same numbers as well each week. Some of those, of course, are recurring families, and then some of those are new families that maybe don't know about the service. So just wanted to share that is they've been very important, and the families have very much appreciated, their resources and ability to have that support in the community.
I would also like to add, like, if WIC doesn't have a formula, they usually come to us, do you have this in stock? We usually have it in stock. So we kind of go back and forth, and then WIC will, I'm like, okay, we're out of this formula. I'll like send them to the WIC office to see if they have it. So we've been kind of going back and forth a little bit on the formula situation. But just like the other day, they came in and asked if we had it. And I'm like, we do. So I gave them what we had. And then I had to go out and buy and replace the cans that they took so that if another family came in and needed it, we have it on stock just in case WIC doesn't have it. So.
And there was a real shortage on that.
Yes, yes. So when I go, I'm like, I make sure we have at least 4 cans of every formula that we have in stock, so that if we do go a shortage, we have a little bit of a leeway that, yeah, we have it, they can come get it from us.
And this is the first time that you're requesting funding from the county.
Yep.
And I so you're aware, when we do get these requests, we hear them, and we still have to go through the whole budget process. Yep. We hear what everybody wants, and I guess I would maybe suggest that similar like what we do with some external agencies that contract with social services, that maybe you would put this within public health's budget request. I mean, you can certainly list it, as that, but rather than just doing it independently, because most of our other agencies that assist us in other areas, their contracts through social services. This one would be, in my estimation anyway, maybe just go through public health.
Okay. Yeah, we weren't sure how this all would go. I'm like, I'm just going to see how it would work. And
I don't know, Administrator Larson, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that would be fine, Mr. Chair. I think one of the things that they were talking today too is there is an immediate need that they're looking for, and so I think part of the presentation today too is about bringing forward this as to the public, if there are different ways that people would be willing to contribute to ensuring that they stay open.
Sure. All right. Yes, Commissioner Ebinger?
And I'll get to it when we do our reports, but I want the opening of Silver Linings this week, and was part of some discussions about the needs that people have in our community, and we sort of forget it in a community like Moorhead where we're fairly prosperous, but there are people with real needs. And I'm looking at this list, and it's Probably not as frequently as Commissioner Mojo, but when I was a parent, and these were things on my list, and I was working and my wife was working, and it was still sometimes tough to meet the needs of this, of a growing child. And to think about families with limited resources not having it. And the fact that we've got an organization here that's partnering with the county to meet needs, I really think it's something we need to look at and come up with a way to address to give them the support that they need.
Commissioner Bear.
So if I was to donate, how does someone out in the public get a hold of you to donate?
So, like I said, we're open Tuesdays and Thursdays, from 11 to 4 on Tuesdays and 11 to 4:30 on Thursdays. You can just come on in, drop it off.
Address?
The Family Service Center, Suite 103, or you can mail it in to Birthright, whatever our address, 715 11th Street North, Suite 103, and it just comes in the mail if you want to do a cash donation or something like that. Otherwise, you can just drop it off at the office there.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Kravinoff.
Yeah, so over the years, what have traditionally been, or maybe more currently, what are your funding sources?
Right now, our main one is Give a Hearts Day. Whatever we get from that, we have to budget that through the whole year. We do have a couple, actually we have one church that donates monthly, and then we have some private ones that donate very small amounts throughout the month. That's about all we have, is our main one is Give a Hearts, and then we have our smaller ones that donate monthly or on a regular basis.
And then two things, just then you don't have to be exact, just roughly, it was talked about an immediate need. What was that number? Was there some comment made that there was, or the ask?
Our immediate need is just the funds to keep open. I mean, we got a little bit of funds from Give a Hearts, but that is kind of littering going down. So I was talking to our main director, and she's like, I'm going to give us maybe a year to, within the year, we'll probably have to shut down if we don't get something somewhere.
Well, I hope through public health and others or whatever, I would encourage you to put a budget together.
Okay.
And I'm sure you have something going that would address and kind of show where you're at. And what those, other funding sources you can work with.
All right, yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
In regards to your website, or not your website, but if I Google Birthright FM, obviously it's Fargo Moorhead. Is there a Fargo site as well, or is this the only site for the Fargo Moorhead?
There should be a Fargo, like a Moorhead site. Can I use the computer to see if I can bring it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're like me, you can't text and answer a question as well, so maybe I'll wait. That wasn't a zing, that's just my brain.
So while she's doing that, maybe Liz, I think you made some really important comments about how
Here's our site right
a
here.
lot of referrals are going out to them, and that's why I think it would probably really work better if they're, we got to determine what that value is to public health, and through that process, maybe you can incorporate something within public health's budget for that. I think rather than going out independently, I just think that's a better way to go. Okay, so you have that.
Great, so it looks like the Family Service Center location is the location for the region, and part of where I'm coming from this is the numbers in regards to who stated where their residency was. There's about 140, 150 almost, that are not exactly you know, we have Moorhead at 280, but it's not identified where the others are besides that 98.
So the others would
Fargo?
be Dilworth, West Fargo, Holly. I need that, this is an older sheet, I forgot to break it down, but it is broke down to each city, state, whatever. We've got, like, Holly comes in, we've got one from Castleton, this is just off the top of my head, Breckenridge.
And that's fantastic. And that, I guess, goes to my point even more. This is really a regional office that helps expectant mothers from all over the region. And so this isn't just a Clay County issue. This speaks to the larger dialogue. And so I think that needs to be part of the outreach too, as we're going to other entities to see how we can piecemeal this together to make it financially work. And then my other question is in regards to donations. Do you take only new?
New or gently used.
Okay.
Either or. Yep.
Okay. And I think that's important too, as families are cleaning out closets, as kids grow into different sizes, to make sure that they're aware of the need, like Commissioner Bear said, to be able to drop those off to
And
help.
sometimes though, like in February, we'll get some churches that will do like a crib, fill a crib, and they'll bring those in. Well, those only last like a month because we're constantly going.
Yeah, I get it. Well, thanks for your.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your dedication. And again, just what Commissioner Mojo said is this is regional. I think there's, you know, other entities that should also be aware of this and help put out that public word. And when I talk about if we start asking for financial contributions on the part of different entities in the public, you know, I think Liz and those people should base that based on the participation of Clay County residents. I think that's, you know, if we're going to be talking about funding something with taxpayer dollars, we need to be able to somehow proportionalize things to what is Clay County, you know, in that ask. So I think that's kind of important, I think. So.
Well, still protecting the privacy of an expectant mother. And I think I appreciate exactly what you're saying, but when we're talking individuals from one or two from a certain city, I don't want to specifically go to that city and say, well, you've got one, so.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We can go through each, I mean, we've got them we keep them like on cardstock, so we can go through each alphabet letter and figure out if they're Clay County, Cass County. I mean, so it can be done.
Okay.
It's a big project for me to do, but it can be done.
I think from our standpoint, you know, if there's something that's put into a budget request for us, how are your services impacting Clay County residents? It's as simple as that. I don't think we're asking for any breakdown within Clay County. That's not the intent, but just something that, you know, gives justification to why we would be putting funds towards that project or towards that issue. So.
But thanks for the input.
Well, and thank you for your dedication to all this, the volunteers and all these young
Yeah, 'cause
families.
we're not,
who
I mean,
really-
none of us are paid, so we're all volunteer based, and it's, with me being in the office, I'm like, I got this.
Can I ask one question?
absolutely.
And please know that I've been in a situation in my life where buying diapers was really hard. So I'm not blaming anyone, but you know, when I look at the list of needs, understanding your mission is for every child to be born, have the right to be born, but we're asking for diapers up to size 6. When things get hard to keep the doors open, have we talked about narrowing that
Yes, we actually did. So we were doing birth to age 5.
Okay.
And then we docked that down to birth to age 2. But we know some of the 2-year-olds aren't potty trained, so we kind of did it size 6, and then we get the pull-ups, but we're docking those down to a 2T, 3T size, because I know parents are like, well, we're in the middle of potty training, can you help? And I'm like, yeah. So we might end up taking the size 6 diapers down to size 5. But I did kind of looked it up and did some research, and usually the size 6 kiddos are going to be starting to wean out of those diapers, or they should be. So we're hoping we can just go to size 5 instead of size 6, but that's what we are at currently, so.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Right, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. All right, let's see what we have next. We have the budget presentation from Technology Services.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you.
Good morning, Rory. Whenever you're ready.
All right, sounds good. I think I will, if you're okay with it, I'll just jump right into some upcoming changes here for the 2026 budget breakdown for next year. A lot of changes for next year. You'll see just a lot of jumping around. I'm reclassifying a lot of what we have now from professional services down to software, just reclassifying what is considered software versus hiring a contractor or a vendor to come in and do things. Quite a few things. For example, maybe a piece of software that used to be traditional software, maybe going up to a professional services type of solution, or vice versa. To start here, the main thing, I think, kind of the salaries down to the Medicare line. I mean, that's pretty typical here, but I'll just jump right into our other professional services line. So overall, without any new requests here, there's an overall decrease. And if you're looking at that budget breakdown sheet that I provided, the one increase is a consolidated communications internet service. That's our redundant internet connection. That is not something we budgeted last year, but it is something we did add. So that is $6,000 a year, or roughly about $500 a month. So that's something I did add as just a built-in increase. And then a new request for that line item would be something I'd like each of you to consider is what's called a penetration test for our internal and external network. So what this is we would hire a company. We've actually received a couple budgetary quotes where they would work on kind of pretending to be kind of the bad guy to get into our network from an external view of our network and also internal view of our network to see what they can do to break into things, gain access to things. It's quite an expense, in my opinion, but from the demos and even other counties that have done this already, just sitting in on some of the results that they've presented, it's pretty eye-opening to what they've been able to find, even as how secure some of these networks are.
Is that the 45,000?
Yes, yeah, the 40. So I did 40 to 45,000 because a 1 year would be 45,000. If you did like a 3 or 5 year term, it kind of goes down. So annually, if you did a 5 year term, it'd be $40,000 a year, for 5 years. So I just put the range in there. Of course, it's security. It's something I would, of course, recommend, but I'll leave that up to the board. It's something the county has never done in my 19 years here. It's something I think something to consider, but that is the biggest request in my budget here this year. Skipping down to the training, I just increased it a couple $1,000s. Just training costs just keep increasing slightly. The next item, equipment repair and maintenance, increased that a little bit. Just again, kind of shifting some costs or reclassifying some costs from other professional services into equipment repair and maintenance. Just reclassifying. I feel some of these items fit more in this repair and maintenance than they did in other professional services. Then jumping down to our data processing supplies, or DP supplies, increasing that a little bit. If you remember, Last year, we signed a new managed print services contract, which saved us quite a bit of money. It actually went down half. And this is to help cover some additional supplies for staff, and then also some of those overages for printing, and we get billed those overages every quarter. So and that's roughly, let's see, about $4,000 in overages per year, just based on the, it's like $750,000 prints per year, black and white, and X amount for color. And this is just above and beyond what we go over that contract. Yeah, and the additional on top of that 4,000 would be the just additional hires that we have throughout the year. The MFA key fobs, the dual key fobs, just accessories for devices, just things staff need, technology-wise throughout the year. Then jumping down to, let's see, computer software here. That's a big jump here. Software licensing keeps increasing year over year here. One of the biggest ones, of course, is our Microsoft licensing. That I think is up to roughly $270,000 a year now, but it's kind of our bread and butter for.
Is that 365?
Yep, Office 365. Our mobile device management to control cell phones, tablets, mobile devices when they're out in the field. Also, any additional licenses. We're starting to dive into some of the AI licensing as well, just to help automate things, generate documents. But that's also going to help with expected growth over the next year as far as staff-wise. And of course, that's kind of just an estimate, unknown how many staff we're going to hire here in the next year. That's just or additional staff we're going to hire. Also part of that software increase, our remote support software, that's $7,000 a year increase. We have a secure file transfer software. For a site license of that's $2,500 a year, which is actually pretty reasonable. We have a software deployment, which pushes all of our software out to all of our endpoint devices, laptops, computers, phones. That's a $3,000 a year increase just based on the licensing I've been seeing, or quote estimates. Our electronic signature solution, which is Sign Now, that's which we got to get training here, which we didn't do last week, but that's $3,500 a year, which was never budgeted. We just added it in the last couple of years. Another thing is the KnowBe4, our Compliance Plus module. That is something that is transferred over from GIS and communications, so that's $6,500 a year. And I'll also jump back a step from equipment repair and maintenance. GIS and communications, technology services also taking over the video surveillance, licensing and maintenance, so all the security cameras in the So those two items will transfer over from that department. Some new virtualization software, we just renewed that. That'll be an $8,000 a year increase. That's a big one that hosts all of our server software and server operating systems. And then our MFA solution, which is Dual, which you're all familiar with. And the antivirus, the state gets their security grants, and that staggers every year. We started out where per endpoint or per machine, antivirus was about $14 per device per year. And then it jumped to 16, and 18, 20, 22, and now it's jumping from 22, which is the 2025 rate, up to 32, which is the 26 rate. So that's a $8,000 bump. Next year, it's going to be closer to 40. So we're going to have to start looking maybe at a new antivirus solution here in the next year if it continues to climb. And that's just the state running out of funds. So they're pushing those costs onto the county, of course. So nothing new there. That's pretty typical. Let's see, the next, the new request for that line for software would be it's called a Secure Vendor Access or a Privileged Remote Access tool. And what this would do, and this is kind of a goal I've had here this year, is any third-party vendor that we would have this would be kind of a streamlined piece of software where, let's say if it's a maintenance vendor or a GIS vendor or assessor vendor, they all use the same software to get into a system. And it logs, it monitors, it records. We can limit what they can and can't do. It audits. We can select what time of day they can get in. Okay, you have an hour to complete your work, and then it kicks them out, prevents them to get in. Whereas now it's kind of, okay, we can let you in, we'll watch you. You know, somebody kind of has to sit there, watch them. Or, you know, we kind of go in on the honor system. We give them an account, they do OMFA in or they VPN in. This would just be more of a, you know, we give them assigned access, and this is the window they have to perform that maintenance. And then the other thing would just be a $20,000 increase to internal services for new security camera hardware for next year. Just replacing some older cameras throughout the county.
All right.
Any questions? I know that was a lot. So
I have a couple. First off, was it this year that we implemented the new cybersecurity position?
Last year.
Last year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so this request that you're doing for new request, would that work in coordination with our cybersecurity person? Is that more of just an additional approach to cybersecurity?
Right. That would be on top of that. Yep. An extra component to the cybersecurity piece. Yep. It would work directly with our cybersecurity analyst, but
okay,
it would be an external
review of it. Yeah, okay. And then probably not towards your budget, but I've asked this question before in terms of equipment that we trade in. I just happened to get a new laptop this morning, and I turned in one that was perfectly usable by somebody, and I'm wondering what that process is because right now we're not.
We are not, no. So I've been round and round with this. As far as sale of equipment or giving away equipment, it really revolves around the statutes that the state provides. And of course, there's not a clear answer. Some of the statutes that I'm finding and have even looped in our Minkilla AMC representative, it's just not clear. Some of the statutes point to some state equipment can be used or given out to nonprofits or sold or given to law enforcement agencies.
Never have I even suggested that we be selling used stuff.
Sure.
But there's certainly, in my estimation, that laptop that I just turned in would be really beneficial to some young person that, maybe can't afford to go out and buy their own laptop right now, or within our public library system, offering them that they can use for the public coming in. I always thought that maybe the hesitation might be from a security standpoint, but
it would be more staff time, really. It would take, we'd wipe the hard drive. Currently, we take the hard drives out, we shred them, especially around the criminal justice, or law enforcement, attorneys, juvenile detention center, just with the content of the hard drive. If we find it's cheaper for us, staff-wise, to take the hard drive out, bring it to Minnesota, shred it, pay the $1 per drive to shred it, versus spending an hour or two to wipe the drive, reinstall the operating system, and repurpose the device. Otherwise, the device then just goes, pull the hard drive, battery out, recycle that, and then send it to recycling. That's the process right now. If we were to, and let's just say a statute allowed To repurpose these, then it would be more of a staff time thing.
Okay, so maybe, you know, if you could for us, because we as a board have had this conversation, and I think all of us felt if there's a way that they can be repurposed, you know, for community purposes, that would be a good thing. Could you basically take a look at, and I'm not necessarily talking about desktop type computers, but these laptop type things that are, and again, the one that I have today, I've got nothing on it.
Right.
That I turned in. It just, it's old, and it, you know, from what we need here in communications through our stuff, I understand the trade. But could you provide us with, historically in a calendar year, how many laptops are turned in, and then what kind of, you know, and in what kind of hours would you expect to, if we were to do what you talked about, that 1 or 2 hours of labor? To me that might still be a investment that's better for a public purpose than just having the hard drives destroyed and sending things off. There's enough, whether it's high schools or, I think there's purposes that could be used for that. And I'd just like to see us do something with that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Let's recycle it to the people who could
absolutely.
benefit from it.
So I would say we probably run through about 100 to 150 laptops every year, and a few hours per machine to wipe the drive, depending on if it's a law enforcement machine, which right now we don't track because we just take every hard drive out, whether it's you know, public health.
And I think, Rory, I think if there's some of those where you would really have concern about, you know, maybe not include those. Okay. If there's some of those, but there's no reason the laptop that I just turned in this morning couldn't go to somebody else to be able to be used. That's it's all I'm saying.
Sure. And I agree. So with that in mind, would there be something in place that says, okay, don't come back to the county for assistance? Don't call us to say, hey, the laptop you gave me isn't working.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
we're already short on time.
Yeah.
That would be only my own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we could just set that policy.
Okay.
You know, you tell us what you'd want to have in that policy, and we could do that.
Okay.
I don't think we'd necessarily be donating something to somebody and then say, well, if you have a problem, come back and we'll fix it for you. Okay. That's not our intent.
I think it's similar to what they do with the, the spring vehicle auction that the sheriff's office had.
Yeah,
I mean,
years ago, we used to do the same thing, get them ready, and they'd go to auction, and a stack of 50 laptops would sell for $100.
Right.
You know, it wasn't worth all of our time.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, if there's a way, I appreciate what Commissioner Campbell's saying, and I get if there's statutorily, if there's some restrictions there. One, can we advocate for that? But two, you know, I do think there's a demographic of, you know, I think about young students that, yes, they might get a laptop for school during the year, but they have to return it at the end of the year. And so, you know, if it's something that could benefit all of our communities, maybe.
But you know, you think to places like Churches United or Bright Sky or some of these places where maybe some of these things could go where people could actually use them to maybe be researching things that could help improve their situations too.
Right.
Yeah, but and again, I think we would probably end up having to set some sort of criteria who gets them, so you don't have to be the.
Sure. Yep.
You know.
Understood. Yeah, and I think if.
But it's something I just.
Sure.
Put them to good use.
Statutes allow. I mean, the five of you are. You know, you can sure decide that. Absolutely, and we'd be happy to make those accommodations and. You know.
Well, why don't you spend a little time, and then maybe you can come back to us with what you would think you would have to have, you know, in addition on here, just to deal with that issue.
Sure, yeah.
And we'll have to weigh that and see.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Rory.
That's good. All right, thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Rory? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
having just bought a new computer, how many of the computers that we dispose of are not capable of being upgraded for Windows 11? That's an issue I ran into. I wonder.
There are, I'd say right now, maybe about 30% of them are not capable, which would probably be phased out this year, by the end of the year, and then.
Yeah, just if that impacts on your equations on what you want to respond to. You know, you're wiping it, you're not loading a new system on, but if it's not capable of taking systems that are out there now and in the future, it's probably something where it wouldn't be worth the time.
Sure, yeah, we would only, you know, pending, if everything fell into place, we would only put on, say, Windows 11 or whatever's currently supported and.
On that laptop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's also, if you said 100, 120 you replace a year?
Somewhere around there, yep.
It's not like 100 and 120 would be, I mean, you'd probably be down to 50 or 60 laptops that would actually worth cleaning and putting out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, it wouldn't be all of them.
True.
I wouldn't imagine it would be all of them.
Yep.
But that's 50
No, I
or
know.
60 that
No, yeah, they could
somebody.
go to good use.
Yep, that's right.
Yep,
All right.
I'll visit with my staff and see what kind of restrictions they would have, and I'll bring that information back.
All right, well, thank you, Roy.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Our next item is a request approval of Resolution 2025-17 for continuation of the Performance Measurement Program. Darren.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Something a little less technical here. It's that time of the year for the Performance Management Program, a resolution. Most all of you have done this already. I think Commissioner Bear is the only one that hasn't been briefed on this program. It's run by the state auditor, and each year we identify 10 or 11 items within the departments of things that we're going to track each year. And by doing this, we receive money from the state, usually in the December timeframe. It's usually about 14 cents per citizen. So in December of 2024, we received $9,276 from the state because we participate in this program. And what it is it's looking back to 2024, and then we report those statistics for that 2024 on July 1st of 2025, which is today. So if this resolution is signed today, I'll send this to the state today, and then by December, we will get another, it's usually around $9,200 for this. This started 14 years ago in 2011. And as you see on the cover page there, those are the areas that we look at and have been looking at for the past 14 years. The report itself, basically in June, middle of June, I send this out to the departments. They send me back their information. I compile all the data and then put it into this report that we send to the state. It's fairly easy because a lot of the departments already track this information, so it's not like they have to go and search for all the information, or some of this information is already online, so we just pull it from online and then put it into our report. So with that being said, in 2024, just for information purposes, there was 38 cities that participated in the performance measurement program and 26 counties. So it started off, when we started this program, there was a lot more, and it's just kind of whittled down to 26 counties now. But I still think it's worth it because this will be posted on our website for 90 days, and then people can track it if they want. If they have questions about it, I refer them back to the department that is submitting the data, because they can probably explain it a lot better than I can. And with that being said, I'm open for questions.
All right, questions? Yes, Commissioner Bear.
So we received 9,200 roughly from the state?
Correct.
What does it cost for us to put all this stuff together to send it to the state?
It's mostly just my time, and I can put this together in half a day.
And how many, then you said it's on the online for about 90 days. How many people actually reach out to you and you direct them to the right staff?
Nobody's ever reached out to me. So I would say that's a 0 in the last 14 years. If they have questions, they can certainly reach out. I think one of the things that I do mention in here is that in 2024, we received 86 items that have been submitted for action through our citizens' concern form. And I continue to stress that is a great option for citizens that have questions. That comes to me and the department head, and we get all kinds of questions from that. So that's kind of our interaction with the citizens. And last year, it's always been pretty popular. Last year, we had 86 people that submitted citizen concerns, and it went straight to myself or the department head that could handle that question.
All right, any other questions? What are the board's wishes?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the 2025-17, to participate in the state performance measurement program for 2025.
So this report will be due 26.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Krabenoff. Any other discussion?
One other question. With this, do we look at other counties to see how we're doing against them? Is like this information compiled to do that? Or?
The one thing about the state auditors, they don't specify these have to be the areas, these have to be the stats, it have to be. So every county might be gathering different data. Some counties, they have a 1 or 2 page report, and it's pretty basic stuff. I think ours is more thorough and detailed than a lot of the counties. Yeah. So it's hard to look at apples and oranges.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign?
Okay, thank you.
Darren. Motion carried. All right, next we have committee reports. We'll start with Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. On the 24th, I attended the June Clay County Planning Commission meeting. We did have an IUP for a request for Doubting Thomas Farm, and that was approved. And then there was a substantial discussion regarding Big Iron LLC in regards to a rezone and possible plat. That did receive a recommendation to this board for both of those items, so we'll be seeing those later. We did have updates from Matt in regards to what the department has going on for violations, working through those. And again, appreciate their department's work on being flexible and working with those applicants. On the 25th, I attended virtually the Prairie Lakes Solid Waste Authority meeting. It's a pretty long conversation in regards to the financial review. We did have plant updates, a discussion on the ash management, and then an update on that road project that they're utilizing the ash in. That's really an exciting endeavor. Talked a little bit about usage. They would take much more, but they're just right now with the market and what Tuffy's is able to utilize. I don't want to say we don't want to produce more stuff, but it's kind of on the demand of what the steam they need. An update on the open meeting laws, and then had a long discussion on property insurance. And then an additional item came forward in regards to medical waste. There's a member that was maybe wanting us to take more of that. I think we need to, one, keep the safety of our employees into account. And I think there is other avenues that they can take that additional medical waste component. So Commissioner Campbell was there in person, so he can add any additional. On the 26th, I attended the Lakes and Prairies Community Action Committee meeting, general board meeting. We did have a long discussion on the audit review. Always a really good update on that. That's a challenging audit. There's just so many different revenue streams, but I really seem to have gone well. Commissioner Krabenoft was there, so he can add any additional pieces. There was a long discussion. There's so many of the revenues that come through capital P, come through the federal allocation. We'll see. I think the vote-a-rama is going on right now, so we'll see what when the federal budget is acted on, where there are cuts and how they'll mitigate the cuts, and what grants will continue. So we'll see on that. On the 27th, I attended the Silver Linings opening, excited about that opportunity in the area. And then yesterday, I attended the MCC JPA meeting. Did have an update on the property status, acquisition status reports, and litigation actions. We did provide action on settlement that includes a ring levy to keep a business operable down there. There was an amendment to a flowage easement to allow for a well for livestock grazing on that property, and then the board acted on some termination letters for construction. Those landowners are not expecting, but understood that those would be coming at some point. And then there was a reimbursement action that went through over the weekend with the substantial amount of rain that was received throughout the area, particularly in southern Clay County. I did have a land producer reach out that there was some dirt that had been piled in a drainage ditch, preventing flowing drainage of a half section of wheat. There was some damage on that, so I did bring that forward to the board for their awareness, and then also just to speak of the increased need for dialogue between the Corps and the contractors, and then the diversion authority, and then us as land management partners, just to make sure that when we're seeing those issues, we're identifying those for quick action now that our soil is quite saturated, just to prevent any further losses that way. And I believe that concludes my reports.
Thank you. Commissioner Bear.
I only had one committee, Mr. Chair, was with the West Central Regional Water District yesterday up in Halstead. Up there we discussed, we have an MOU signed with East Central Regional Water District with North Dakota, over North Dakota to supply us with water. That MOU has been signed with both parties. We also had a budget update where we're down to about $92,000, about $500,000 that's been put in from all three counties. We also, we've switched the fiscal agent to Norman County because of the grant money that's supposed to be coming in with Norman County and the city of Felton, so then we can have Norman County handle that, because all that money's been transferred to Norman County for this project. And they're about 90 days out, hopefully, to see some of that EPA money coming in. We'll see how that all goes, but now, and hopefully the funds that we have can get us there. That's all the heavy hauls have been brought in on that project to get us through the survey 2. So hopefully that money can get us to the EPA grant money. Then we also, East Central Regional Water District bid out some pipe to go to that big dairy down there, and those bids came back very well. So then we also, just preliminary, they also built it out coming across the river to Halstead to see what that would be if this project moves forward. And those bids came back very well, and there might be more to come on that project. Kevin Campbell was there also, and that is all I have to report on that as of now. Oh, and then after that meeting, I also went down to the city of Glendon, where we had another meeting with the West Regional Water District. It was myself, Stephen Slick, and then Members, a couple other members of the board also met with the city of Glendon to discuss water usage in the city, if they want to be a supplier or someone to take in water. So we met with them, and we're gonna go into more detail with them in the future.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Abier.
Thank you. Last Tuesday, I, along with most of the rest of us, attended the employee picnic, which was, we're really grateful to our employees, and they show up and the attendance was good and they enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, and the pulled pork was excellent. So, you know, we're grateful for their attendance and for what they do for us throughout the year. Later that day, I attended the Red River Regional Dispatch Center Board of Authority meeting. We received the draft budget and reviewed it, and it was forwarded. It had been forwarded from the executive committee to us with no recommendations, and we did approve that budget. It'll be for $294,134.63, which is going to be a 4.7% increase. But given the nature of what we're doing right now, moving, and that's not the capital funds or any of that involving the new dispatch center, that's strictly operational. And so we have a lot going on at this time, and it is going to be a facility that is a lot more robust and has more terminals and more employees. So looking forward to that. There was a discussion about the old dispatch center and the best route to take with that. Either use it as a backup center or put it on the market. But simply getting the technology out of it will be so expensive. That's a major consideration. So at this time, no action, I believe, is seriously considered until we get the operation going in a new center. Got a report on the work at the new center. It's going well. Some of the inside work, the walls and doors are going up. Some technology is being worked on and brought in. They're going to start installing the call handling technology and consoles in short order. And that completes that completes this report. On Wednesday, I attended the Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC board meeting. It was, I attended it remotely. It was being held at the new Bell Tower, Bell Bank location, downtown Fargo. And Lane Brantner gave a speech on a presentation on what they did to get that area, that building stripped down to the skeleton and then bring it back new, put in new parking. It's quite a project. We discussed Innovate 28 developments on their website, and they have got business development and workforce issues on that, and they're trying to get in updates and keep the data current. The board development process was discussed. Sagery is outlining that process. They've been hired to oversee it. They want to have a stronger alignment with vision and strategy and have self and peer analysis in there, have more training and retreats for the board. And just some of the general business. On Thursday, I attended Silver Linings opening. Commissioner Mojo was there as well. Very impressive amount of community support that's come out for them. Pastor Brooks was there, and he and I had a talk about some of the needs that have been met by the community and some of his hopes for future use of a lot out there that they've got. He also gave a couple of really good recognitions to the support that he had from the county and from the city of Moorhead to get that work done. So I'm grateful that we're at a point to where we're going to be able to provide housing to 26 veteran and senior citizens out there, and it's a nice facility. It'll be a dignified place for them to live. Later that day, I attended the Diversion Authority Board of Authority meeting. There was a brief discussion on hopes for some funding from Minnesota. At that point, we have not gotten, we don't have the information on that at this point as to whether there'll be any state funding this session. Discussion about a board retreat for September 16th. The Technical Dispute Review Board update, all positions are now filled, and an organizational meeting will be forthcoming. Fargo also on the financial update, Fargo made adjustments. 3 of the lift stations that they were going to totally replace, they're simply going to rehabilitate and not replace them. There will be a savings on that. We also had a closed executive session. And I believe we've got up on the calendar, Commissioner Campbell and I have got a special session that's been called coming up this week. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Kravinoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Had one meeting on pretty long afternoon, evening over at Cap LP. It started off with the Commissioner Mojo's already mentioned a little bit, but we had our annual audit, and I'm on that committee, so did a deep dive in the audit. That was for Cap LP with all their divisions. They handle about and programs. They have about a $15 million program, and anyway, and those funding sources are all state, local, and federal. So it gets pretty complex, but the audit came out at the highest level of assurance and praising, I guess, or maybe that's a little strong, but anyway, thanking local Cap LP for their understanding of internal controls and their way of designing procedures to address the risks. Also, later in the meeting, that was approved, that report and the audit, and then another big, lot of work had been done over there with staff for the 2025 community assessment. And it was a assessment that was about 3/4 of an inch thick. Anyway, this assessment really looks at the area that Cap LP serves, which is in Clay and Wilkin counties. The assessment's done every 3 years, and it's to identify the causes and conditions of poverty in the community we serve, and then to do assessment of our community strengths and needs. And out of that assessment, it really came across that our top needs are needing high quality, affordable child care, a living wage to draw people out of poverty, and then along with the shortage of affordable housing and transportation. Common things we hear all the time, but it stresses the point of a problem that's long-term and our way of trying to find ways to improve upon those needs. And the biggest areas, as we're growing, we know it in our demographics. We see it in our assessments of Clay County. Our poverty is elevating, and especially in the most part in areas with families of children, and then certainly our senior citizens. So it's wide-reaching. So anyway, Cap LP does its part with all interactions for housing supports, education, and serving other adult needs. So with that, very happy to be part of that group, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, on June 24th, I did also attend the Red River Regional Dispatch Center board meeting for the month of June. Commissioner Ebinger did report on the draft budget that was approved by the Executive Committee, forwarded on to the Budget and Finance Committee, which then forwarded on to the full board for approval. Commissioner Ebinger mentioned that there was a 4.7% increase to the operational budget. If you equate that in terms of dollars for Clay County, it's a $24,413.18 increase. Something that was more significant than that, there's two components of which all entities pay for. One is the operational budget, and the other one is the special assessment that's for the New World maintenance. And that's outside of the operational budget, and that's based on each entity's number of licenses that they contract with. And unfortunately, that number, that percentage of increase is significantly more. That was a 15.45% increase across all entities. And again, it's kind of like what Rory talked about today. Those are basically software license fees that you pay for. And so for Clay County, that increase is another $13,968.87 based on the current numbers that we have. So those will, obviously those numbers will be forwarded to the sheriff and they'll be incorporated. As Commissioner Ebinger did say, I think one of the significant deals there is this new, we're obviously that 4.7% is, a lot has to do with the new facility, but we're also talking about having additional consoles operational, which should also improve the dispatch times that, some of our rural representatives in Clay County in the past have had some concerns about that. So that should, hopefully that should really resolve a lot of that. Then on the, and I think Commissioner Ebinger did report on the rest of that meeting that went on. Then on the 25th, I did attend the Prairie Lake Solid Waste meeting. Commissioner Mojo talked somewhat about that. The issue on the medical waste, it was brought up as a potential, and I really appreciate the commissioner from Becker County, looking at ways where we could increase revenues for that facility. This would bring the ability, if we were to adopt that, you could probably see revenue increases, but the fact of the matter is we're already operating at capacity. And so there's really no room to increase the volume amount that's there right now. There could be the potential for 1,000 tons, and then of course, we've talked about that in the past, and even yesterday, or at that meeting, we had one person said, had medical waste been part of that process there, he would have walked out. And I think there's a lot of concern amongst a lot of the employees about the safety issue. Imagine being on that front line in a MRF, which is a materials recovery, and all of a sudden you got there and you got body parts coming out. It's something that I don't think we want that to be part of that process. It's different if you're talking about some medical waste that are in bags that can go directly to an incinerator where they don't do that. But anyway, that was that. We did approve the property insurance renewal for the upcoming year. We continued to talk about the ash management. And just for, we did have a discussion regarding the budget as well. And I did share this information with Corey. We are anticipating, if that budget goes through, and I apologize, there's a lot of paperwork here. We did have a potential increase, or the increase in tipping fee, I guess I'll have to report that later. It's buried in here. Anyway, I apologize, but Corey's got the increase on what that would be based on the tipping fee increase of, I think it's around 4%. Then on the June 26th, I attended the Diversion Board of Authority meeting, which Commissioner Erbinger also talked about. He reported on most of the items there. We get our typical update from project status report from the Army Corps of Engineers, and then as well from our lead engineer on the project gives an update. And then we get an update from our Finance Committee Chair. Our current chair is Mayor Dardis from West Fargo, and he reported that we currently have $340 million in the bank for that project. Of course, that can go really fast now when we get these milestone payments that are going to be due to the contractors. And an interesting point that he brought up that I thought was really good to hear, and I'm going to quote him on this, and he said, "Collections are robust." And he's referring to the sales tax collections that are going on for the project between Cass County and the city of Fargo. So sales taxes are robust in that financial plan, which I think is good news. On June 30th, I attended along with Commissioner Bear, the West Central Regional Board meeting. That was yesterday. Commissioner Bear report, I think there are some really, looking at some really good opportunities in terms of that leg coming across from the dairy farm. And I think we're looking at the potential for a bigger pipe coming through, which would even help expand the territory that this project could lead to. We're always concerned about you don't want undersized pipe because then you limit your growth. And not only that, but then the bids that have come through on the North Dakota side for the stuff that they're doing that's going to that dairy, those bids are way below what they estimated. I mean, we're talking, $30 or thinking difference in pipe costs per foot, price difference from, previous years. So there's really some encouraging news there that could allow us to really move that footprint further into Minnesota in a timelier amount of, ability to move further faster. Then yesterday, we, along with Commissioner Mojo, we had the MCC JPA, the Moorhead Clay County Joint Powers Authority, and Commissioner Mojo did a good job in talking about what all we did there, and I don't need to add any more to that. So that concludes my report. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, I participated in the county picnic. I want to thank all the organization that happened for that, and also the people that worked on that day and this board for providing. It's one of my favorite days of the year. Again, we can't do anything of the goal and the vision that this board has without the work of our employees, and we're fortunate to have wonderful people. The 25th, I met with Darren and Anna as we continue to discuss insurance opportunities. I believe today is the final day for RFPs for insurance, and so our insurance committee will have some information to look at coming up. Worked with Kathy McKay and in providing the update for the Medicare revalidation for both public health and social services. That was submitted last Thursday. On the 25th, we had our first two union negotiations, met in between with Darren and Josh Hagum, our labor attorney. Darren may have more feedback on upcoming meetings there. Also had some ongoing conversations with Quinn, as was mentioned earlier, with the federal legislation that's happening could certainly impact several programs within public health. Again, just want to reiterate the great value that we have in AMC in information that's provided through Quinn, through his association. On the 26th, I met with Dan Molly in regards to the Resource Recovery Facility contract. Again, they submitted the potential of being removed from that contract at the end of this year, and so we're continuing to have negotiations of how to best move forward. And so we are in hopes that the city of Moorhead will make a determination here within the next few weeks of how they would like to move forward.
Mr. Chair? Can I just briefly comment to that? I really appreciate the work that you're all doing to have those dialogues and conversations. And I think it's important to note that at the SWAC committee meeting, we did have a greater Clay County representative talk about the importance of having a timely response from the parties involved in regards to how we'll move forward. There are enormous financial consequences to some of the decisions that could happen with that. And I just want to go on record and say that, you know, in a time when we're having department heads coming already to propose percentage increases, whatever the city of Moorhead decides could really affect Clay County's bottom line as well, not only theirs. And so, you know, I'm hopeful that we can have a decision either way going forward. But I really do think it's a disservice to all of Clay County residents to not know at this point in time, because I'm already trying to figure out how I'm going to pay my own taxes in the next year, and that item alone is enormous. And so I'm just hopeful that as those conversations can go forward, they can happen quickly, because the longer that delay is out there, the more of a chance that the residents don't really understand the full story and how to plan for that situation going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. On the 27th, I met with Sheriff Empting on a series of county issues, staffing issues. Yesterday, participated virtually with the West Central Regional Water District. Again, that's been well covered, some exciting things there. We had pre-budget meetings, both for the facilities and the assessor's office, and then participated in the MCC JPA meeting yesterday afternoon. And just for our citizens, we will be closed on Friday, July 4th, in observation of 4th of July. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And I just want to go back to my report regarding Prairie Lakes and, you know, just something else when it comes to what Commissioner Moser just talked about in terms of our total solid waste picture and previous agreements that we had, and the implications of any changes that could really have an impact on what we've, from the county standpoint, we've always felt was a very fair, you know, contract when we went into that facility. In addition to that, as I mentioned, Prairie Lakes is basically looking at a 5.2% increase for 2026, based on Clay County's 15% membership into that facility. We'd be looking at, with those tipping fee increases, a $24,672 and 51% increase over the previous year into our annual financial commitment to that facility. And again, that $24,000 goes back to what Commissioner Moser was talking about. That also goes back into that and can have an additional impact on what every person in Clay County pays for their solid waste services wherever you live, whether you live in the city of Moorhead or you live out in Ezra's area in the rural Clay County. It does have an impact. Because we all pay the same tipping fee rate. Okay, yeah, so with that, Brian. All right. Darren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't here last week, so Tuesday, the 17th, I was at the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. On June 18th, I had the Laudermill hearing for one of our employees. I also had department budget meetings with GIS Planning and Zoning and Tech Services, which was presented today. Thursday and Friday, I was on vacation. Monday, June 23rd, was basically getting ready for the county picnic, picking up supplies. Also had a pre-budget meeting with Anna and Kimberly, the recorder and the HR. Tuesday, June 24th, basically the county picnic most of the day. We served 354 employees, which was pretty good. It's about average of what we do every year. The cost was about $1,800, and that tab was picked up by department heads, the commissary fund, and the wellness committee. So we served a lot of people for a small amount of money. That afternoon or evening, I attended the County Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission. On Wednesday, the 25th, I had union negotiations. This was the first union negotiations with the deputies and the sheriff admin staff. And then finished up the report that I briefed today on the performance measurement program. Thursday and Friday, I worked on some union costing sheets that I'll be presenting to the board in the first part of August. Monday, I had budget briefings for the assessor and building maintenance, which I'm sure will be coming to the board shortly, and also had a meeting with Anna. All of the bargaining units are scheduled for their first negotiations except for one, and I'm hoping that that gets scheduled today. All of them should be completed with their first negotiations by August 4th, and then I'll put together kind of a summary of all of those first negotiations. And also, just a reminder that, and Anna sent this out to all county, although it just it's for the correctional para. As of today, that increases, the employer's increase is to 8.75%. This is for correctional only. And the employee is the employee is 8.75, the employer is 10.25% increase, and that's effective as of today. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And last but not least, Sarah? All right. All right. We are adjourned.